The British Armed Forces form the military of the United Kingdom, tasked with defence of the country, its overseas territories and the Crown dependencies, as well as promoting the UK's wider interests, supporting international peacekeeping efforts, and providing humanitarian aid. They encompass the Royal Navy, a blue water navy with a fleet of 77 commissioned ships, the Royal Marines, a highly specialised amphibious light infantry force, the British Army, the UK's principal land warfare branch, and the Royal Air Force, a technologically sophisticated air force with a diverse operational fleet consisting of both fixed-wing and rotary aircraft. The Commander-in-Chief of the British Armed Forces is the British monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, to whom members of the forces swear allegiance. However, the British Parliament maintains the armed forces during times of peace with the passing of quinquennial Armed Forces Acts. The armed forces are managed by the Defence Council of the Ministry of Defence, headed by the Secretary of State for Defence. The UK is an active and regular participant in NATO and other coalition operations. The country is also party to the five-power defence arrangements. Recent operations have included wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, the 2000 intervention in Sierra Leone, peacekeeping responsibilities in the Balkans and Cyprus, and participation in the UN-mandated no-fly zone over Libya. Overseas garrisons and facilities are maintained at Ascension Island, Belize, Brunei, Canada, Diego Garcia, the Falkland Islands, Germany, Gibraltar, Kenya, Qatar and Cyprus. The United Kingdom tested its first nuclear weapon under Operation Hurricane in 1952. Becoming the third nation in the world to achieve the status of a nuclear power. As of 2015, update, Britain remains one of 5 recognized nuclear powers, with a total of 225 nuclear warheads. Of those, no more than 160 are deployed and active. Its nuclear deterrence system is based on Trident missiles on board ballistic missile submarines. History. Upon the Act of Union in 1707, the armed forces of England and Scotland were merged into the armed forces of the Kingdom of Great Britain. By 1815, with the defeat of Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo, Britain had risen to become the world's dominant superpower, and the British Empire subsequently presided over a period of relative peace, known as Pax Britannica, until the outbreak of World War I in 1914. Between 1707 and 1914, British forces played a prominent role in notable conflicts including the 7 Years' War, the Napoleonic Wars and the Crimean War. The current structure of defence management in Britain was set in place in 1964 when the modern-day Ministry of Defence was created. The MOD assumed the roles of the Admiralty, the War Office and the Air Ministry. Cold War post-World War II economic and political decline, as well as changing attitudes in British society and government, were reflected by the armed forces' contracting global role. Britain's protracted decline was dramatically epitomised by its political defeat during the Suez War of 1956. The 1957 Defence White Paper abolished conscription and reduced the size of the armed forces from 690,000 to 375,000 by 1962. Seeking an inexpensive alternative to maintaining a large conventional military, the government pursued a doctrine of nuclear deterrence. This initially consisted of free-fall bombs operated by the RAF, but these were eventually superseded by the submarine-launched Polaris ballistic missile. While assurances had been made to the United States that Britain would maintain a presence east of Suez, a process of gradual withdrawal from its eastern commitments was undertaken in the 1960s, primarily for economic reasons. By the mid-1970s, Britain had withdrawn permanently deployed forces from Aden, Bahrain, Malaysia, Mauritius, Oman, Sharjah, and Singapore. Agreements with Malta and South Africa also ended, with a permanent presence east of Suez effectively reduced to Hong Kong and Brunei. The armed forces reconfigured to focus on the responsibilities allocated to the services during the Cold War. Substantial forces thus became committed to NATO in Europe and elsewhere. By 1985, 72,929 personnel were stationed in continental Europe. The British Army of the Rhine and RAF Germany consequently represented the largest and most important overseas commitments that the British armed forces had during this period. The Royal Navy's fleet developed an anti-submarine warfare specialization, with a particular focus on countering Soviet submarines in the Eastern Atlantic and North Sea. In the process of this transition and due to economic constraints, 4 conventional aircraft carriers and 2 commando carriers were decommissioned between 1967 and 1984. With the cancellation of the CVA-01 project, 3 Invincible-class STOVL aircraft carriers, originally designed as through-deck cruisers, became their ultimate replacements. While this focus on NATO obligations increased in prominence during the 1970s, low-intensity conflicts in Northern Ireland and Oman emerged as the primary operational concerns of the British Armed Forces. These conflicts had followed a spate of insurgencies against British colonial occupation in Aden, Cyprus, Kenya and Malaysia. An undeclared war with Indonesia had also occurred in Borneo during the 1960s. And recurring civil unrest in the declining number of British colonies often required military assistance. Recent history 4 major reviews of the British Armed Forces have been conducted since the end of the Cold War. All 3 services experienced considerable reductions in manpower, equipment, and infrastructure during this period while restructuring to deliver a greater focus on expeditionary warfare. The Conservative government produced the Options for Change review in the 1990s, seeking to benefit from a perceived post-Cold War peace dividend. Though the Soviet Union had disintegrated, a presence in Germany was retained in the reduced form of British Forces Germany. Experiences during the First Gulf War prompted renewed efforts to enhance joint operational cohesion and efficiency among the services by establishing a permanent joint headquarters in 1996. An increasingly international role for the British Armed Forces has been pursued since the Cold War's end. This entailed the armed forces often constituting a major component in peacekeeping missions under the auspices of the United Nations or NATO, and other multinational operations. Consistent undermanning and the reduced size of the armed forces highlighted the problem of overstretch during the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. This reportedly contributed to personnel retention difficulties and challenged the military's ability to sustain its overseas commitments. A strategic defense review, described as foreign policy-led, was published in 1998. Expeditionary warfare and tri-service integration were central to the review, which sought to improve efficiency and reduce expenditure by consolidating resources. Most of the armed forces helicopters were collected under a single command and a joint force Harrier was established in 2000, containing the Navy and RAF's fleet of Harrier jump jets. A joint rapid reaction force was formed in 1999, with significant tri-service resources at its disposal. The first major post-11 September restructuring was announced in the 2004 Delivering Security in a Changing World, Future Capabilities Review, continuing a vision of mobility and expeditionary warfare, articulated in the SDR. Future equipment projects reflecting this direction featured in the review, including the procurement of 2 large aircraft carriers and a series of medium-sized vehicles for the Army. Reductions in manpower, equipment, and infrastructure were also announced. The decision to reduce the Army's regular infantry to 36 battalions and amalgamate the remaining single-battalion regiments was controversial, especially in Scotland and among former soldiers. envisaging a rebalanced composition of more rapidly deployable light and medium forces. The review announced that a regiment of Challenger 2 main battle tanks and a regiment of AS-90 self-propelled artillery would be converted to lighter roles. There were more than 30,000 members of the British Armed Forces deployed abroad in January 2007, serving in various capacities. Peacekeeping, humanitarian aid, and disaster relief tasks increased in the 2000s, many under the auspices of the United Nations and NATO. The armed forces contributed to the international humanitarian and reconstruction efforts in the aftermath of the 2004 tsunami and 2005 earthquake in Pakistan. Within the United Kingdom, there were approximately 140,000 personnel stationed in England, 13,200 in Scotland, 7,000 in Northern Ireland, and 6,200 in Wales. The conflict in Northern Ireland had required the armed forces to provide military aid to the civil power from 1969, with a presence that peaked at over 20,000 regular personnel in 1972. Sectarian and paramilitary violence subsided after the Good Friday Agreement was signed in 1998, and the IRA declared an end to its campaign in 2005. Operational support for the Police Service of Northern Ireland, known as Operation Banner, officially ended on 1 August 2007, resulting in the reduction of the military presence to the size of a peacetime garrison. As a result of the Strategic Defence and Security Review conducted in October 2010, Prime Minister David Cameron signed a 50-year treaty with French President Nicolas Sarkozy that would have the two countries cooperate intensively in military matters. Today, the British Armed Forces is a professional force with a strength in January 2015 of 156,940 regular and 30,000 volunteer reserve personnel. This gives a total strength of 186,940 service personnel. In addition, all ex-regular personnel retain a statutory liability for service, and are liable to be recalled 1996 for duty in a time of need. This is known as the regular reserve. However, mod publications since April 2013 no longer report the entire strength of the regular reserve. Instead, they only give a figure for regular reserves who serve under a fixed-term reserve contract. These contracts are similar in nature to those of the volunteer reserve. As of 2014, regular reserves serving under a fixed-term contract numbered 45,110 personnel in 2014. All personnel figures exclude the Military Provost Guard Service and the University Training Units, the University Royal Naval Unit, the Officers Training Corps and the University Air Squadron. Britain has the fifth largest defence budget in the world, with the country spending more than countries like Germany or Japan but more or less comparable to that of France. In September 2011, according to the Royal United Services Institute, current planned levels of defence spending should be enough for the United Kingdom to maintain its position as one of the world's top military powers, as well as being one of NATO Europe's top military powers. Its edge, not least its qualitative edge, in relation to rising Asian powers seems set to erode, but will remain significant well into the 2020s, and possibly beyond. In the 2013 spending review, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, reinforced the government's commitment to the 2010 SDSR and stated the £38 billion black hole in the defence budget had been filled. That at over 2% of GDP, the defence budget will remain one of the largest in the world. The equipment budget will grow by 1% in real terms every year after 2015. That there will be further reductions in the civilian mod workforce. PFI contracts signed in the last decade would be renegotiated. The way equipment is purchased is to be overhauled. and a greater commitment to cyber warfare. The Royal Air Force established an air transport and refueling hub at Al Minhad in the United Arab Emirates in 2013. The following year, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office announced it would expand the UK's naval facilities in Bahrain to support larger Royal Navy ships deployed to the Persian Gulf. Once complete, it will be the UK's first permanent military base located east of Suez since it withdrew from the region in 1971. The base will reportedly be large enough to accommodate Type 45 destroyers and Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers. The Ministry of Defence is looking to build another similar base in Oman. The Strategic Defence and Security Review 2015 included £178 billion investment in new equipment and capabilities. Command Organisation as Sovereign and Head of State. Queen Elizabeth II is head of the armed forces and the Commander-in-Chief. Long-standing constitutional convention, however, has vested de facto executive authority, by the exercise of royal prerogative powers, in the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State for Defence, and the Prime Minister makes the key decisions on the use of the armed forces. The Queen, however, remains the ultimate authority of the military, with officers and personnel swearing allegiance to the monarch. It has been claimed that this includes the power to prevent unconstitutional use of the armed forces, including its nuclear weapons. The Ministry of Defence is the government department and highest level of military headquarters charged with formulating and executing defence policy. For the armed forces, it currently employs over 60,000 civilians as of 2014. This number will be reduced to just 55,000 by 2015 and then again to 48,000 by 2020. The department is controlled by the Secretary of State for Defence and contains 3 deputy appointments: Minister of State for the Armed Forces, Minister for Defence Procurement, and Minister for Veterans Affairs. Responsibility for the management of the forces is delegated to a number of committees: the Defence Council, Chiefs of Staff Committee, Defence Management Board and 3 single service boards. The Defence Council, composed of senior representatives of the services and the Ministry of Defence, provides the formal legal basis for the conduct of defence. The 3 constituent single-service committees are chaired by the Secretary of State for Defence. The Chief of the Defence Staff is the professional head of the armed forces and is an appointment that can be held by an admiral, air chief marshal or general. Before the practice was discontinued in the 1990s, those who were appointed to the position of CDs had been elevated to the most senior rank in their respective service. The CDs, along with the permanent Under-Secretary, are the principal advisors to the departmental minister. The 3 services have their own respective professional chiefs. The First Sea Lord, the Chief of the General Staff and the Chief of the Air Staff. Personnel are based in a number of overseas territories, though internal security for the majority is provided solely by small police forces. Garrisons and facilities exist in Ascension Island, Diego Garcia, the Falkland Islands, Gibraltar, and the sovereign base areas in Cyprus. These deployments accounted for over 5,000 personnel in 2006. Locally raised units are maintained in Bermuda, the Falkland Islands, and Gibraltar. Though their primary mission is home defense, individuals have volunteered for operational duties. The Royal Gibraltar Regiment has recently mobilized section-sized units for attachment to regiments deployed to Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction. The United Kingdom is one of only 5 recognized nuclear weapons states under the Non-Proliferation Treaty and maintains an independent nuclear deterrent, currently consisting of 4 Vanguard-class ballistic missile submarines. This is known as the UK Trident program and delivers a continuous at-sea deterrent capability. Nomenclature of the UK deterrent is after the UGM-133 Trident II submarine-launched ballistic missile that is used to deliver the nuclear warheads. Estimates of the United Kingdom's nuclear stockpile put it at approximately 225 nuclear warheads in total, with 160 of those being active. A successor program is currently in its early stages, with a final decision to be made in 2016. It primarily seeks to replace the Vanguard-class submarines with a new generation of SSBNs. However, the program will also extend the life of the UGM-133 Trident II ballistic missiles, refurbish the nuclear warheads and modernize existing infrastructure associated with the deterrent. Former weapons of mass destruction possessed by the United Kingdom include both biological and chemical weapons. These were announced in 1956 and subsequently destroyed. UK Joint Expeditionary Force. The UK Joint Expeditionary Force, not to be confused with the similarly named UK-French Combined Joint Expeditionary Force, was announced in December 2012 by the Chief of the Defence Staff, General Sir David Richards. It is designed to be an integrated joint force, with capabilities across the spectrum at sea, on land and in the air, with the aspiration being greater levels of integration than previously achieved, especially when combined with other nations' armed forces. A variable size, it is intended to be the basis of all the UK Armed Forces combined joint training, a framework into which other nations will fit. It will be the core of the UK's contribution to any military action, whether NATO, coalition or independent, together with command and control elements including HQ Allied Rapid Reaction Corps and the maritime component HQ at Northwood. The force is designed to meet the UK's obligations to NATO. Royal Navy. The Royal Navy is a technologically sophisticated naval force, and as of April 2015 consists of 77 commissioned ships. Command of deployable assets is exercised by the Fleet Commander of the Naval Service. The surface fleet consists of amphibious warfare ships, destroyers, frigates, patrol vessels, mine countermeasure vessels, and other miscellaneous vessels. The surface fleet has been structured around a single fleet since the abolition of the Eastern and Western fleets in 1971. The recently built Type 45 destroyers are technologically advanced air defense destroyers. The Royal Navy is building 2 Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers, embarking an air group including the advanced 5th-generation multi-role fighter, the F-35B. A submarine service has existed within the Royal Navy for more than 100 years. The submarine services for Vanguard-class nuclear-powered submarines carry Lockheed Martin's Trident II ballistic missiles, forming the United Kingdom's nuclear deterrent. The service possessed a combined fleet of diesel-electric and nuclear-powered submarines until the early 1990s. Following the Options for Change Defense Review, the Upholder-class diesel-electric submarines were withdrawn and the attack submarine flotilla is now exclusively nuclear-powered. 7 Astute-class nuclear-powered attack submarines have been ordered, with 2 completed, 1 on sea trials, and 4 under construction. The Astute class are the most advanced and largest fleet submarines ever built for the Royal Navy, and will maintain Britain's nuclear-powered submarine fleet capabilities for decades to come.